Good morning. I'd like to chat with you for a few minutes about a topic I'm calling Why Inviting People to Come and Experience the Presence of God is Wrong for Churches to Do. This is a very touchy area. I'm very aware of the sensitivity that needs to be used when we're talking about the presence of God. And again, I don't want this to come off as critical to churches, but just yesterday, I was looking at different articles and reading some different things, and I saw an ad from a church. And it wouldn't be anything unusual. I've seen these types of ads before, various platforms. And all it said was, come and experience the presence of God. Come and see for yourself. Try it. See if you like it. It was an invitation, I suppose, to both believers and non believers that they should come at this particular time, at this particular location, and in that particular allotted time, which turned out to be only 60 minutes long, that they were going to come and they were going to experience the presence of God. Now, for somebody who's been raised in the church, it seems perfectly normal. Like I said, I've seen these types of advertisements and slogans. I've seen it on letterhead. I've seen churches put it on the building in terms of a sign, or I've seen it out on the road on these different billboard type structures that come and experience the presence of God. But for some reason yesterday, this just hit me the wrong way. And uh, so I started to search my heart and I said, Lord, what I'm reading here seems perfectly normal for somebody like myself who's been raised in the church, and I've seen this a lot and I know church language. And so come and experience the presence of God. What's the problem there? But something in my heart and mind and spirit, I suppose, didn't feel comfortable with that particular line. It was an encouragement, an enticement. Come on in and experience the presence of God. I thought back to the biblical times of Moses and some of the great saints of the Old Testament, and what they would call the presence of God. When he was on, I believe, Mount Sinai, meeting with God and receiving the Ten Commandments for all, of all things. The people were so fearful of the presence of God. They literally camped several miles away because they knew that if they touched even the bottom of that mountain, it would take their life. The presence of God that came on the Ark of the Covenant, that even if you accidentally happened to touch it, it meant death. You lost your life. You think of the Holy of Holies and the trouble and the effort that it took for the priests to keep it sacred and absolutely to the letter by what God had instructed them to do in terms of handling the moving of the tents and the tabernacles, and in particular the Holy of Holies and what it represented. Um, no man has ever seen the face of God and lived. Even Moses was hid away in a rock, and only saw the hind parts of God. And even then, he came down with such a glory on him that the people asked him to cover his face. His face was so bright, just at being in the presence of God. Think of the upper room, the 120 that prevailed and stayed there and waited those 50 days until, well, they didn't know what was coming. Was it this comforter that Jesus had talked about? Was it going to be another person who would appear to them, would come to them, maybe teach them? I mean, they had no idea what this thing would be, what was actually coming. All he said is, I will send the comforter. And then the great sound of a rushing wind, mighty rushing wind, filled that place. They had cloven tongues of fire on each of their heads. And then, of course, we all know they broke into a multiple number of human languages that were not known to them, but they were represented. Those languages were represented outside of the upper room, and thousands of people heard these 120 preaching in their own native language. The people that had come to be in Jerusalem at the time heard their own language, heard the gospel spoken to them in their own language by people who had no natural understanding of their language and yet spoke it perfectly. Thousands were added to the kingdom that day. That's the presence of God. The presence of God is a sacred, wonderful moment. I have found in my living, my years, the greatest moments, the greatest times when I could say I was close to or in the presence of God were those private, intimate moments when either a word or a text out of the Bible or just a personal commitment and recommitment or a dedication or a time of worship where I was on my own, I was isolated, I was it was private, it was personal, it was a time with the Lord, and I felt his presence because in my heart, everything in my heart and spirit was crying out to Jesus and saying, I totally need you. I depend on you. What the presence of God has to be is ultimately an individual, isolated solidarity between my spirit and the spirit of God. And in that private moment of commitment or dedication or worship, I experience the presence of God. And yet, what happens is every Sunday at a designated time, at a designated location, in a designated building, and using a order of service form, which fills out is filled out by the powers that be, that in this particular 1 hour we're going to be together, broken down almost to the minute. We are going to do 60 minutes, and in that 60 minutes, we are going to create, fabricate, um, template what the next that 60 minutes will be, and that you will be convinced when you leave to go home that you are in the presence of God. And then next week we'll fill out another order of service, and in that 60 minutes we too will then leave you with the impression or send you home with the impression that you are in the presence of God. We have we have cheapened what this term means, the presence of God. Come and experience the presence of God. Give it a try. See if you like it. I don't find anywhere in my Bible that God or the Holy Spirit or Jesus himself created an experience, something that you would experience, where where one and all were called in and come in and evaluate. See if this is what you're looking for. See if this what fits your life. Is your life empty and lonely and dark? And is this what you need? A sense of community? This is where the presence of God happens on a Sunday morning at this location, at this time, and for 60 minutes. We've got it scheduled right in here. The presence of God is going to be a part of that 60 minutes. So people have grown up, young people, middle aged people, older people who've been in this environment as I've been in this environment for a long time. We've reduced what we've come to understand as the presence of God. When Jesus was asked to take care of a need, a blind man, a lame person, someone demon possessed, someone who had died, if there was water to walk on, if there was a boy's lunch that could feed 5,000, that was the presence of God. People who followed Jesus followed him just to be a part of this amazing, unusual thing. And it has to be unusual. It has to be something very unique and special because we're talking about the presence and the manifestation of God. And of course, Jesus was the perfect example of that manifestation. Now, today, we have Christians who will chase revivals all over the country. When a revival broke out in Florida, they all rushed there. When a revival of sorts broke out in Toronto, from around the world, they all rushed there. I myself went and checked it out. Anywhere where someone is claiming that the presence of God is there and it's happening in a special way, there we go. Is that something Jesus would have us do? I don't think so. You see, folks, and I'll finish with this. You can't fabricate. You can't template. You can't take a service form and fill it out with your worship team and your leaders and say, okay, that's Sunday morning right there. And all you critics who are going to tell me right now that, well, Norm, you have to have some organization. I suppose you do, but not to create the presence of God. You don't. I think if the ad went on to say, come and meet us at Sunlight Community Church and make new friends, I would be 100% behind that. Come to Sunlight Community Church and see how you can help us serve the community. That's all great. But when we get into things like the presence of God. And we use it as an enticement to get new people out. It becomes a tool, becomes part of our brand. Come on out, experience the presence of God. How dare we? And I've just come to this realization at this ripe old age. And why I felt that hit my heart, why that disturbed me somehow, I don't know. And I'll tell you what, I wrestled with it half the night. I don't think I fell I don't think I fell off to sleep till maybe 4:30 in the morning. So I'm a little tired, but I prayed all night. And I in my spirit and heart I wrestled with the Lord. Am I to do this video? Yes, people love coming to church. They love the camaraderie, they love the fellowship. But folks, you're no more in the spirit, you're no more in the presence of God than, and maybe not even as high as those moments when you have taken yourself aside in a private place and you've had this heart-wrenching conversation and time with the Lord. And then the Holy Spirit descends on you, and the Holy Spirit is a part of that. And Jesus is there. We're not supposed to be pursuing experiences. We're not supposed to be pursuing gifts, even. The nine spiritual gifts are something that is given to an individual at the discretion of the Holy Spirit. I'm saddened when I see various parts of the church advertising, come to our prophetic weekend seminar, our prophetic conference. And if you apply early, you can get an early bird special and save a few dollars, and you will get DVDs of all the sessions, and we will tell you in this prophetic conference what God is going to do in 2022. If you want to know what God is going to do in 2022, make sure you come to our prophetic conference. Healing conferences. If you would like to uh, be involved in a healing ministry, come to the workshops on the weekend, and we have so and so coming and so and so coming, and they will give you biblical teaching on how to be more successful in a healing ministry. And apply early because there is an early bird special, and you'll get it a little bit cheaper. And of course, all the DVDs are available. I saw one where there was a conference. Come to our special gifts. In other words, nine spiritual gifts. Come and learn how you can operate in all nine gifts. And we will teach you at this conference, at this weekend seminar. We will teach you how to operate in all nine gifts because they're already in you. You already have them, and we're going to show you how to get them released. So then you just put a caboose on the end of all that and say, at this location, at this time, in this building, come and experience the presence of God. See if you like it. I don't know where this is going to go, but we need to do some serious heart searching and some serious thinking about the way we have not only merchandised, but commercialized and packaged the gospel. I'm going to do a follow up video. It'll be video number 62. It's called Jesus Will Empty Your Church and Then Fill It. And so, God bless you. Have a great day. Again, I'm still pondering everything that I felt I was supposed to say. And if I've dragged this out, I'm really not apologizing. I'm not going to promote this to too many people. I'm going to send it out to a few who I think should see it, but others will just have to find it and discover it on their own. And if it was any help, that's great. But I really think us promoting an experience, we're not to promote an experience. We're supposed to promote Jesus. And so God bless you. Have a great day.